Mr. Primetime.
Gotta do it, man.
Dude, you have a group of supporters that actually wait for the sound of the can. That's the official intro of our show now.
If it wasn't for drinking, what else would we do this year?
So, first of all, let's start by saying this. Thank you to everybody that called in last night into our radio show. For those guys that don't know, we broadcast live every Tuesday night. It's been 8:30 because my schedule's been ridiculous. But we broadcast for 2 hours. We take calls the entire time. We changed our format where you can kind of say whatever you want, however you want. And last night's show was crazy. So we appreciate everybody that actually tuned in and called in. And we appreciate everybody that's been joining these live streams as well, man. It's just pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are tired of the same old bullshit from a lot of the usual media sources and outlets out there. And, they're looking for some unfiltered, real talk about the Jets. And, we're not going to hold back on anything. So we appreciate all the support on that. Yeah,
so it's been pretty wild, and it's like, it seems like, dude, every day, like we'll post a video, I post a video, I'm like, all right, this is my last rant and I'm done. I'm kind of like trying to defeat myself, right? I don't go on these wild, crazy tangents. And then, dude, today again, like, last night we were on our show live and the news broke the Jets released Le'Veon Bell, which is ludicrous on so many levels. He's been mishandled, mismanaged, all the facets of it, right? So they asked Adam Gase today about, there is a perception that you mishandled Le'Veon Bell.
It's irrelevant.
He's like, that's irrelevant. How in the living hell is that irrelevant? No, it's a fact, you clown.
I'm just curious to ask how it's irrelevant when he went on and on this offseason about how he was going to, watch the tape from last year. They were talking about getting him the ball in space, using him the right way. Well, if that was what he was dedicating himself to in the offseason to try to get a great player to where he should be, well, this is the result.
Dude, he's actually talking himself in circles now because the biggest story of the offseason was that him and Le'Veon figured it all out. He watched Le'Veon's film. Now he knows how better to use him. Le'Veon came in great shape. Like, this is supposed to be one magic puzzle here. Like, we figured it all out. Now I'm going to use my superstar running back. I'm going to do it. And the reason why all this is going on is because he mishandled him. So it's not irrelevant. It's actually very relevant. You blew it with the running back because you do not know how to adjust your offense, or he doesn't cater to his players, man. It's like, here's my system. Either you play in it or I kick you out of here. I run you out of town.
Yeah,
so
Ryan Clark was even on the Michael K show today, and he was talking about that, how he firmly believes that this was all about ego for Adam Gase, that he didn't want him in the first place. We all know that, and he was just determined not to make it work. It was his way or get out the door, and that's ultimately what it came down to.
Dude, the blueprint from Adam Gase is obvious. Look what happened in Miami. We talked about this endlessly.
Same thing.
So if we're boring you guys, we apologize, but he doesn't like strong personalities in his locker room. It's his way or the highway. And the minute he took this job, what did we say? The two biggest personalities on our team, Jamal Adams, Le'Veon Bell. Well, lo and behold, October 14th, they're both gone in a year and a half. That's it. I mean, this isn't rocket science here, people. Like, and for him to say it's irrelevant, it's not, because he's scaring people away. Because not only is he ruining this, but the future of this organization. People are like, dude, I don't want to go to New York Jets unless you pay me a ridiculous amount of money or you promise me the world. Because why would you want to come here? It's the worst team in football on the field. It's the worst team in football off the field. There is not 1 ounce of positivity on this team anywhere. There's nothing you can sell on this team. The only thing you can sell on this team is, here's a wallet. Here's an open, like a blank checkbook. That's the only thing you can give them, dude. There's nothing you could sell. Nothing about this team right now.
They are the legitimate laughing stock of football. They are the worst run organization in all of professional sports, I think, at this point, kind of overtaking the Knicks. And yeah, I mean, we always talk and kind of laugh and joke about the Jets tax. Well, I mean, that's going to be in play for at least another 2-3 years. You think you're getting any major free agents to come here after the way you just handled Jamal Adams and Le'Veon Bell, guys that are respected around the league? You think you're convincing anybody to come play here without giving up significantly more money than somebody else? It's not going to happen.
So now the irrelevant thing, and here's, all right, I'm just going to burn down the house right now.
Do it.
I am so goddamn tired of the way the media is just catering to Adam Gase right now. What happened to the little tough-ass critics that roasted Todd Bowles, that ripped the shit out of Rex Ryan? What happened to that media base? Are they so desperate to be on Adam Gase's good side to get what few stories they get that they won't criticize him and go after him?
And Manish still broke the Le'Veon Bell story yesterday. So,
but the thing is this, dude, the follow-up is this. I would go after him. And this is, dude, Adam, it's not irrelevant. It's actually very relevant because your mishandling of him made him unhappy and made him want to leave and caused this problem. Meanwhile, Le'Veon Bell has done all the right things. I don't know why this picture is being painted about him like he's some terrible teammate, did all the wrong things, comparing him to Jamal Adams. It is apples and oranges. It's not even close, dude.
Well,
when all this shit went down with Jamal, he took Adam Gase's side.
Absolutely. He had Adam Gase's back from the very beginning, dude. But the media is going to paint that picture, right? Adam Gase wants him out.
Who believes it?
They are the mouthpiece for Adam Gase.
Are there any fans believe this now? Like, if you're diehard fans like us, dude, like I read this shit, you call them out. Like, this is horrible. This is nonsense. As a fan, you guys start calling out the media too. Like, do your job. Like, stop kissing the team's ass. Stop kissing Adam Gase's ass, and tell the truth. And call him out on the nonsense. Like, this irrelevant. It's not. And then it gets better, because this is where I went off the deep end, dude. I'm not gonna lie to you, dude. What? Oh yeah.
Calling?
Yeah. So
take it,
dude. I can't. Like, I had to calm down before you did this. I've been raging for about 2 hours now. So they go through the irrelevant, that's not irrelevant, how he mishandled the locker room is now fractured now, because now they're all surprised Le'Veon Bell's gone. A guy that half this locker room idolizes. They all look up to him. You know, a prominent personality, a prominent player, all that. So the locker room's going to quit on the team. There's no doubt about that. So then Adam Gase has a chance. If they're floating out this story that no stone unturned, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make this team better. My offense sucks. I'm going to find a way to figure it out, even if it means giving up play calling, which we knew right when he said it, it was bullshit, because if you take away his play calling, what is he going to do on the sideline? He's not a part of defense. He can't manage a team, doesn't do any time management. The only thing he does is stare at his playbook. So if we take away play calling, what's he going to do? Is he going to play checkers on the sideline, have some tea, sit on the bench? He'd have nothing to do. But it gets better, because it's never enough with the Jets to just make something bad. They got to put gasoline on it and put a blowtorch on it and blow the shit up. So then he says they had a conversation. He had a conversation with Joe Douglas and the staff to say, hey, you know what? Should I give away my play calling responsibilities, or should I keep it? I'm like, you know what? You can keep it.
Status
quo. Basically what he said was he asked himself, hello, self, should I give up my job? No, self, you're doing just fine. Okay, good. Everything's good. What are we doing here, dude? Like, this is ridiculous. Does anybody believe this?
And that's what worries me the most. That Joe Douglas, he doesn't have the authority.
He's a puppet
to do something here. Well, of course he is. And even worse, if you listen to the Michael K show, he turned down an opportunity to go on the show today and speak.
He don't want to face nobody.
He's a coward, dude. He's a coward.
Can't answer word.
He's running. He's in hiding. Get out in front of this. There are like an endless list of quotes here. We can get to them later that he has said throughout the offseason about Le'Veon Bell, about Adam Gase, about the best culture in sports, making Jamal a Jet for life. He is eating his words every single time he speaks. But I mean, at this point, you've said enough. Like, you've done enough damage. Try to get out in front of some of it. Speak up. It's a big boy job.
You're hiding.
Put your big boy pants on. Address the media. Talk. Like, that's your job, dude.
Listen, here's a problem. Adam Gase is talking around in circles. He can't explain what he's doing, why he's doing. He's got no answers. It's almost like there's either two things here. And there's the one I'm hoping for, the second one I'm concerned about. The one I'm hoping for is he knows he's getting fired. He just doesn't care anymore. He's like, you know what? I'm just going to keep babbling bullshit like a used car salesman and just say whatever I want, and there's no repercussions. Hopefully, sooner or later, they fire me. That's the one aspect. The other aspect, which we got a lot of comments on this already, is saying, you know what? This guy feels way too confident doing this, pulling these moves, doing all this with a sense of arrogance, which is mind-numbing. Thinking like, you know what? I'm coming back next year. I don't care what you think about me. I don't care what I do. I'm going to do as I please, when I please. Deal with it, because I'll see you next year. And that, dude, and that's a lot of comments we've been getting today on Twitter and everything else. I couldn't even fathom that, dude, because how else can you explain how this team is handling themselves right now? They're hiding. Like, Joe Douglas is hiding. Adam Gase is being arrogant and smug and everything else. Ownership's hiding. And he's still employed after all this embarrassment.
Well, why else would you let him dictate personnel moves if he wasn't going to be here in the future? And again, I hate the thought of that. Everybody knows he should not be back. Yet,
he fired today. Well, yesterday.
He should have been fired last week. Yeah, he should have been fired last year. But at this point, I mean, to suggest that Joe Douglas, has more power than Adam Gase, there aren't any examples. It appears from the outside looking in that Adam Gase is running things here, and he has way too much power, and that he's probably going to be back next year. I mean, I hate to think that, but just think about it this way. And this is, I'm trying to here's my problem. I got a legitimate problem, dude. I try to think with common sense and logic. And as a Jets fan, I know I got to get rid of this common sense shit out of my head.
Because I'm like, all right, if you sit here as an organization, your team is the worst team in football. We are a laughing stock. We're the butt of all jokes. We are going to be every meme, everything. We're rock bottom now. So if your head coach is coming to you, in theory, which I don't even believe he did this, and Joe Douglas says, listen, man, we've got to make changes here. Like, to blame everything on Le'Veon Bell could be your scapegoat today. That lasts until you get blown out on Sunday. Who's your next scapegoat? It's going to be somebody else, right? But so Joe Douglas, when you have your little group huddle here, all these morons that act like they know what they're doing, and they says, listen, do I give up play calling? What should I do here to change things up? You mean to tell me Joe Douglas says, you know what, everything's fine? You'd make some kind of change. Hey, listen, you know what? To offset the fury that we have with him, like, to be honest with you, I think this fan base would become a little bit calmer if they say, you know what, Adam Gase, we're taking away your play calling responsibilities. It's now Dowell Loggins. You got to sit here and manage this team. Like, strip him of some responsibilities, like kind of like a smack on the wrist. Like, dude, you're doing something wrong here. Like, show some kind of accountability. There's no punishment for losing all these games.
Yes, but then why is he here in the first place? Like you said, if he's supposed to be the offensive guru, the offensive genius, the innovative play caller, well, that's what he should be doing. He should be developing our young quarterback. Instead, he's not only mishandling him, he's getting guys like Becton hurt, who looks like, he's probably not going to play for a second straight week. So, like, everything is going backwards, and yet, where are the changes coming from?
The whole question is, dude, today, if they had the meeting yesterday and today, they're talking, you're 0-5, things are spiraling out of control. You're losing your locker room because you're going to see a really shitty effort on Sunday. This team is not competing on Sunday, dude. Our preview show on Friday will be 10 minutes. No, the game's going to be a blowout. So if you're Joe Douglas and you're saying, okay, listen, how do I try to salvage any facet of my team so we don't get embarrassed for the next 11 weeks? And Gase offers, hey, listen, how can you help me help myself? And they're like, no, we're good, man. Just keep doing what you're doing. That's the approach the organization is taking. That speaks so many volumes. We're saying, you know what, status quo is good enough. Keep getting blown out week in and week out, double-digit losses. I mean, that's what
they're tanking.
This is on Joe Douglas now, dude.
Well, yeah, let's call it what it is. They're tanking. So another quote from him in the offseason that we're not punting 2020. Well, that looks like total bullshit too. You're subtracting talented players. Yeah,
he looks terrible right now. Joe Douglas looks terrible, dude.
You're not putting in place any foundational pieces. Guys that walked away, like Robbie Anderson. They've blossomed into number one wideouts. You trade Jamal Adams, like now you cut Le'Veon Bell for nothing when we desperately need weapons. You can't try to fool the fan base and say you're not tanking this year.
No, and the thing is, and the whole thing with Le'Veon Bell is like, it's no secret. The day Adam Gase was hired, it was a problem. There was a rift then, and it never got any better. So this is the problem I have with Joe Douglas. And this isn't saying this now. Well, if anybody listens to our show, I've been saying this for a year. When Le'Veon Bell and him weren't getting along, then you say, you know what, the trade deadline last year, you know what, we got to cut our ties here. Okay, you don't want to do it then? The end of when the year is over, say, you know what, it's not going to be a popular decision with the fans, but we just can't get along. Like, it's just not going to work for us. Let's get some kind of compensation then. The same thing with Jamal Adams. What did we say, Kevin? We said it over and over and over.
Yeah,
you have this conversation in March. Okay, Jamal, you don't seem like you're very happy here. What are your contract demands? What is your true desire? Do you want to be or not? You have all these conversations because you know what? The goal is to get the compensation before the draft. You don't do all this shit now. You don't do it after the draft. That's how you truly rebuild a team. The timing with Joe Douglas, how he's handled some of his contract stuff, has been terrible. What's offset is terrible is he got a ransom for Jamal Adams. That's what's bailed him out of this, dude. Because everything else is handled terribly.
But even if he traded Le'Veon Bell last year at the trade deadline, what was he getting back then? Because his value was already diminished after just – I'm saying yes, but you also need playmakers, right? If you're trying to develop your young quarterback, you need playmakers. And we clearly didn't have an offensive line last year. We clearly didn't have wide receivers. We still don't have wide receivers. So you need something. You need somebody.
Yeah, but if you trade
why can't he force Adam Gase to make this work? That's what I don't get. A talented player that we always talk about. He was a Hall of Fame player before he got here. So why can't he force Adam Gase to make this work? Say you don't have a choice. This is a talented player. He was great before he got here. Get something out of him. Use him the right way. Get him the ball in space like you said you were going to this offseason. Why can't he do that?
Because nobody holds him accountable. Nobody holds him accountable. And that's the thing. Adam Gase pushed all the right buttons to make him frustrated, to not use him correctly, do all this stuff to the point where he broke and it's like, you know what? I want out of here. And it was like Gase pushing to the point where he did something to like, oh, there it is. That's the final straw. We got to get rid of him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you keep pushing somebody, and they finally come back and punch you in the face. Yeah. That's what happened. And then he's like, oh, there you go. Now you have to go. And nobody holds Gase accountable.
I was gonna say, at what point, how many players does it take before we realize, you know what, there's a bigger problem here, right? It wasn't Robbie Anderson, it
We've
wasn't
known
Jamal
this.
Adams, it's not Le'Veon
This
Bell.
is his track record in Miami.
How many more guys is it gonna take?
But do you think this is blindsiding anybody? Like, dude, we're only casual fans. We're fans, and everybody knows what happened in Miami. And the blueprint when he was hired, we said this was going to happen because we knew the personalities. We knew it was going to happen. We knew how arrogant he is, how stubborn he is. Adam Gase is a prick, dude. It's his way or the highway. And when he's like, you can be this kind of guy when you're Bill Parcells and you have rings. You're Bill Belichick and you have rings. If you have a winning resume, you actually accomplish something other in the NFL other than kiss Peyton Manning's ass for a year. You know what I mean? Like, he's done nothing in the NFL. He's accomplished nothing. And he's acting like he's Vince Lombardi.
Well,
and the players aren't buying into it.
And that's why players take to social media. I don't know why Adam Gase is shocked that players do that. He's not approachable. He's not respected. If he was, players would go to him with their gripes. Even Bart Scott and Damian Woody, it was a few weeks ago, they were talking about it. If they had an issue with Rex or, when Woody played with Belichick, they went directly to the head coach because they respected the fuck out of their head coach. When you respect your coach,
the same thing.
Yeah, when you respect your coach, you don't throw them under the bus. You don't do things to embarrass them. Le'Veon Bell, he knows by liking a tweet what kind of message it's going to send, what the story is going to be in New York. Exactly. He knew it was going to happen. He wanted out.
Wouldn't you want out?
Or at the very least, he wanted to send a message that, you know what, Adam Gase needs to go, and people in the locker room see it.
But wouldn't you want out? Like, if you're an older player, like if you're Jamison Crowder with 1 year left on a contract, I'd be like, dude, I want to trade me out of here. Like, I want out. Like, I want to abandon ship. Like, I'm out of here. Like, I'm not buying this system. I'm not going down with your ship. I don't want to be here.
I'm surprised Sam hasn't yet. I mean, if you heard him talk to the media today, I mean, once again, he sounds distraught. He sounds lost, talking about, I love Le'Veon. He was a great teammate. We heard that from a few different Jets today. I mean, how many more examples do we need of this?
Dude, we saw Le'Veon interact firsthand with his teammates. We were on the sidelines with him.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Dude, everybody gravitated to him. Didn't, right? And the thing is, the things we heard about, oh, he's not this. We saw him in practice, dude. In between plays, he's on the ground catching passes. Remember? With the little drills he was doing? He was constantly working out the entire time on the sideline. Now we saw it firsthand. That's not some bullshit from Rich Samini. We saw it.
Yep. He did the conditioning drill, I think, 3 times. The one green and white scrimmage that we went to at MetLife, he was running back and forth doing extra conditioning.
He was doing receiving drills with the receivers.
Yeah, dude. And the one quote from Joe Douglas, I just want to read this one real quick from Manish today. My personal experience with Le'Veon has been very positive. This was in January. He's done everything we've asked of him to do as a person and a teammate, one of the best workers, one of the best teammates. He connects and engages with everybody. Can't say enough positive things about him. So if you're about culture, that's the guy you send out. He's the problem now. Everything this guy says, it's coming back to bite him.
They're looking for a scapegoat. This is their big statement move, like looking for a scapegoat, looking like supposedly he's the problem now. Until what? 2 weeks from now, somebody else is gonna be the problem.
Yeah.
And so and then the other thing is, if you look at it, when they're trying to sell, we're not tanking the season. Okay, so you're making this move to make Frank Gore your feature back. Is that what you're doing? But it gets better because just last week, maybe 5 days ago, not even 3 days ago, LaMichael Pirine couldn't take on more responsibility. He had enough on his plate, right? Yep. Isn't that what he said? We asked, why didn't you get more carries? Oh, he's got too much on his plate. 3 days later, much bigger workload coming. Dude, they can't go an hour without embarrassing themselves. Like, every comment they make just contradicts everything they're saying. They don't know if they're going right, left, upside, back. They don't know what they're doing. It just shows the dysfunction throughout this organization between Gase, Douglas, ownership, and the players in the locker room. Whatever they're saying and doing is justified now. I wouldn't play hard. I wouldn't do anything, dude. Like, cut me. Like, I'd be happy to be released. Cut me, release me. I'd be happy to get the hell off this team.
I'm surprised more players aren't opting out at this point, like CJ Mosley, and just following him.
Dude, I would be demanding trade. If I'm anybody has any kind of like Crowder, any of these guys, Jordan Jenkins, Brian Poole, like, listen, man, I want out. Either, or what could very well happen, and I'm waiting for it, dude. It's only a matter of time. Here come the hamstring injuries. Here come the back injuries. Yep. Here comes this. Oh, coach, I can't go today, man. My hamstring is killing me. You start making business decisions, right? You're like, hey, man, can't go. Sorry, coach. Guess just one of those days.
Well, we've seen the business decisions on the field, too. I mean, when
Bradley McDougald.
Yeah, he's the best example of that, and he's not the only one.
So this press conference today is a fiasco. The reactions to the Bell thing are just fascinating, where some people are just saying this was like you listen to Boomer Esiason today, and some people paint this crazy picture about Le'Veon Bell. He's like a complete distraction in a locker room, all this. It's like, dude, it's a couple tweets. Like, the thing, like, there's some old school people that think that are so new to this whole way social media works and how like today's athlete works. Social media is very prominent. They're on it all day long. That's what it is. We're on it all day long, right? These little things dude, are nothing, man. It happens all across the NFL. To paint this picture like he's the crazy malcontent, worse than Jamal Adams, is ludicrous, man.
I mean, well, think of the names that are saying it. Boomer, Bob Wischusen, Costello.
Yep. They're all in the Jets' pocket, man.
What do they all have in common? So, again, I think it's pretty clear to see what's going on here. The fans aren't fooled. The fans know that Le'Veon Bell is a talented player, that he's been a great teammate, that he's not the issue. But we've seen enough patterns to know that Adam Gase is the issue. And they're going to continue to just let him decimate this organization. And it's such a shame.
And the other thing that you'd like to know, and nobody ever asked these questions, because all of a sudden we stopped asking all the relevant questions in these press conferences, things that we all want to know. Like, all right, you're 0-5. Don't sell us playoffs. Don't sell us you're going on a run. At what point do you start playing the young players? Like Denzel Mims is finally back in practice, but they're going to put him back in a couple of weeks. He's not going to be ready. Cameron Clark's back. At some point, these young guys got to get on the field, man. Like they have to. And that's where the organization as a whole says, listen, I understand you want to keep playing Frank Gore, but we want to see what P. Ryan could do. I understand you want to play whoever, Steve McClendon. We want to see what Nathan Shepard can do. Like we need to understand with the season that's lost, completely wasted, what our young talent can do. Because if we're here for the long haul, Joe Douglas, I need to make decisions going forward. And Gase won't do that because he's trying to play to win, apparently, in theory.
Well, I guess maybe that's one positive, that maybe he is on the hot seat still. If he's still, trying to play to win, playing the veterans, if he did feel a little too comfortable that he's going to be back, maybe he would be looking to get more young guys in there. So I really don't know.
All right, so we'll do is we'll go to a bunch of these comments. I can just
bring them on.
Let's see. We got first one. Jets fans deserve blame for celebrating Joe Douglas before he made his first move. Listen, this fan base did exactly that because Joe Douglas had a very impressive resume. He got a 6-year deal. He brought in all very high-level, accomplished guys around him that are all reputable. And there's a large portion of the NFL analysts that still believe in Joe Douglas. The problem is his relationship with Adam Gase. It seems like he's conceded power or he's been handcuffed with certain things, and that's the problem. So once he has the ability to get rid of Adam Gase, which I guess it's an owner's decision, the next coach he brings in, will Joe Douglas kind of say, listen, man, I have a lot more power now, and he'll kind of flex his muscles, or will he be a pushover?
I don't blame Jet fans for celebrating Joe Douglas, but I guess we probably should have had more questions considering that Adam Gase was kind of responsible for bringing him in here. Yep. I'm not going to completely bury him at this point. It's been one draft, one offseason really, but it's hard to deny that this team and especially the young quarterback have gone backwards, and he has failed at doing his job, especially when you look at the wide receiver position. I mean, that's the most glaring example where you've got, 10 to 12 guys that were drafted within the first 3 to 4 rounds that are all making plays every single Sunday. Yet our one pick at wide receiver has still yet to see the field yet. That was a criminal example of how you neglected your quarterback. There are other examples too. Khalil last year, which he still doesn't get a pass for. And then this year, all the investments that we made on the O-line, we're still pretty much ranked, 31st or 32nd in almost every single offensive category. So, at what point does he start getting blamed for some of this stuff?
Dude, look at the moves today. Do you see the moves today?
Oh yeah.
They cut Dante Moncrief, who's actually a veteran receiver, not very good, drops a lot of passes. They sign a punter and a defensive lineman, or a punter, kicker, defensive lineman. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing now. Not starting to stockpile as much talent for the offense, bringing receivers, running backs, anything else. We're a kicker and a defensive lineman.
The tank is on. That's why. I mean, they're not even trying to hide it at this point. I don't think it's a legitimate tank. Next comment:
smart Jet fans knew what was going to happen as soon as they found out about this coach. Well, we did. I mean, the funny thing was with this hire, we did shows all around this hire on our radio show, and we were called negative. You got to give him a chance. You don't know what you're talking about. It's not always doom and gloom. And here we are.
Yep. And still, the biggest mistake was allowing your previous general manager to run that entire offseason, spend $100 million, go through the draft, and then fire him right after that. I mean, if he was in any way, shape, or form on the hot seat, you allow Adam Gase to bring in his general manager before the offseason. That way, we're not in this situation right now where we're trying to rebuild after, a year and a half of, a big spending spree. So
this comment is phenomenal. JD is a well-spoken Adam Gase puppet. Oof. He is. Oof. Dude, he is.
He's not well-spoken because he doesn't speak. He doesn't address the media.
No, I mean, when he does, he says all the right things, like offensive line, I'll protect Sam, I want to do this, and I want to have the best culture in sports, and all. He had us all buying in. Adam Gase, you can't believe a word he says because half of it doesn't make any sense. The other half, you just know he's lying to you. But Dude, Joe Douglas, I cannot wait for his next press conference. And if he's going to get it from every angle now, he has to. There's no way when your team is this bad, where there's this many weird decisions being made, that he cannot be scrutinized. So either he's going to start pushing back and say, listen, this is the coach. The coach did this, or he's going to take blame for it. But somebody's taking the blame for something, man.
It still amazes me that he didn't speak out today. Your organization, the best culture in sports, like you said, it's up in flames. And you're just going to sit back and let Adam Gase be the only one to talk to the media. Yep. That's messed up.
It's a chicken shit.
Yep.
Gase is surprised players don't approach him since he makes all the decisions in the building. Listen, man, if you're a pompous guy like he is, he's not an approachable guy. He's probably very arrogant. And it's like, you know what? At sometimes as a coach, the way you do it is you approach your players. You get proactive. Like, listen, you guys are being standoffish. My job is to make communication work. I'm not going to sit like the high and almighty guy up here in the tower and be like, I'm look down amongst my peasants. No, you say, listen, I'm a man of the people. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to come in your locker room and let's talk this out as a team and figure it out. There is this. It's like, he's here, team is here, and that's it. And that line of delete, it's just never going to work.
It's about building relationships. And again, if he was a Belichick type, it'd be different, right? Somebody with a proven resume who's done it before, who's won. He doesn't have that. So to try and dictate to players that they got to do things his way, what is the Adam Gase way? Everybody that leaves you or that you leave behind ends up doing better. Their careers take off as soon as you leave. So what is the Adam Gase way? At some point, you have to be more approachable. You have to be proactive, reach out to your guys, and try to figure this shit out. We tried to believe that this past offseason, he was speaking with Le'Veon Bell, looking at the film from last year that didn't work out. Well, no, nothing changed. Nothing changed.
Yeah, and it's just, we'll go to the next comment, because did you listen to Boomer blaming Bell for everything? Yeah, I listened to it first thing this morning. And the thing is, like, I think the problem is a lot of these guys in the media, they don't pay very close attention to the Jets. They're watching the Yankees and all this other stuff going on, the playoffs, all this other. So they don't have a good feel. They get their little sources, give them information, probably members of the Jets. Okay, here's your story to give out. Here's your narrative. Like, even Gio was blasting Le'Veon Bell. Well, he was like this in Pittsburgh. Like, dude, we pretty much watched every step of the way with Bell and saw what he did, saw how he handled himself. We saw everything. But to blame everything on Bell, like, oh, he's this big problem. Oh, he went bowling when he was sick. Meanwhile, he wasn't going to play anyway. Like, all this stuff. Like,
and the team sent him home.
But the thing is, don't ignore the problem. The problem wasn't Bell going bowling. The problem was the coach couldn't use him correctly. The coach is unable to adapt his system. Like, they try to, like, what the Jets do is they try to give you all this smoke in the air so you can't see what's really going on. And you can see right through the bullshit. And certain members of the media are getting exposed, dude. Like, you can tell the guys that are clearly on the Jets side saying, you know what, we got to push this narrative. But the beauty of having all these podcasts and all these different fan things doing all these great things is we're all fighting back and saying, you know what, we're not buying it. And now what's happening is all these podcasts out there, live streams, all this shit is becoming making a lot more noise than two beat writers.
Yeah, because what do beat writers offer nowadays?
Nothing.
I mean, they get a scoop, about 10 minutes before, the rest of the world hears it, and then what?
They get some interviews where you don't learn anything anyway.
Exactly. They try to spoon feed you information that they're already spoon fed from the Jets PR department. Dude, fans, genuine fans that have been watching this shit for the past decade or longer, we see what's going on here. It doesn't take a genius to figure this out, especially when you hear the same voices trying to, spin this in a positive direction or constantly casting blame on the players. How many more players is it going to be before we finally realize it's actually Adam Gase?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, I'm an older fan, so I've been through this roller coaster ride before. Like, I've been through the demise with Rich Kotite, to the bringing back up of Bill Parcells, to back when, Rex got run out of town and Idzik and McCagnon. Like, I've seen it all. And, like, as a fan for, like, a team that's never won anything, the red flags when you see them. Just like with certain players sign a contract, and a few games in, you're like, oh, shit, this guy's a dog. Like Tremaine Johnson, like, there are certain guys, when you sign them, like, 3 games in, you're like, oh, I know exactly where this is going. Or a quarterback like with Geno, you knew like certain things were going to happen. You're like, I know exactly how this is going to end. With Adam Gase, we knew exactly how it's going to end. And the power struggle we're seeing now, which is exactly this next comment. Next comment is, I think they need to clean house, to be honest. They need a GM and a competent head coach to be on the same page. Well, the argument is going to be that Joe Douglas needs to hire his guy, not Gase bring in Douglas. Douglas has to hire his guy. But the problem you're going to have is, and this is my biggest concern out of all of this, is look at the environment we have right now, right? And they look at, you need such a strong organizational guy here. You need a guy that has a legitimate blueprint. He's got to be a strong leader. He's got to be a team guy. He's got to get rid of so much stench out of this locker room. If that's a first-time head coach, good luck, dude. And listen, I understand Eric Bieniemy. I understand all that, but understand what you're walking into with this team.
Yeah, I mean, obviously not ideal, but I think it could still work out with a first-time head coach. But they definitely need that veteran Bill Parcells, proven resume type head coach. No nonsense bullshit to come in here with an established resume. The problem is, like you said, I don't think you're getting that guy. I don't even know if that guy's even going to be available this offseason. So, everything about your organization's going backwards. You're a laughingstock. Expecting to be able to lure that coach in here when you haven't paid any prominent head coaches since you've been owners, to the Johnsons. I don't know if that's realistic to really expect that, unfortunately. And I don't know if even Joe Douglas would want to pursue that kind of guy because that kind of jeopardizes his job.
And that's something that we've talked about before we go to this next comment. My bad, I should probably hide that. It's, if you can get a prominent person in here, like if I'm Chris Johnson and Woody Johnson, I'm understanding how desperate and dire the situation is. And I'm like, you know what? This is getting past hiring Eric Bieniemy. I may have to go big. I may have to go for prominent names and open up like a $8, $9, $10 million contract for whoever it is. Somebody bigger. They may have to do that.
The problem is, how would that happen though? How would that happen? Chris Johnson would go over Joe Douglas to
do that
coaching search?
I'm saying, you know what? You may say, listen, if you say a name comes up, give me a name, Jim Harbaugh, John Harbaugh, somebody like that, Sean Payton, whoever. If they become available and they say, listen, you know what? You want to give me $10 million a year for 8 years, and I want personnel say, and Joe Douglas is like, I'm not giving that up. Okay, Joe, you're out. That's it. Like, we're so desperate, dude. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, you know what? You have to inherit a general manager you don't like. If you have that kind of like powerful coach, the ability to get that guy, chances are we're not going to get that chance. We're going to have to hire I guess the new hot name is Matt Campbell. But I mean, this coaching hire is going to freak me out, dude, because I just fear the worst with this.
Yeah, if you can get that prominent guy, I completely agree. Ownership would have to step up, spend the extra money, and unfortunately, Joe Douglas would have to go. I mean, if you can get that true personality in here, the no-nonsense guy, proven resume that is going to turn things around, I don't know how we can turn that down.
Next comment, why waste Jamison Crowder's talent? Trade him, he deserves better. Listen, if you're going to blow it up all of it then. I mean, if you want to just start chipping people out, like I don't even care at this point. I just don't care, man. Like I expect nothing because they're not going to be competitive.
I agree, but then just acknowledge that you don't give a shit about Sam Darnold. I mean, speaking of Joe Douglas, I mean, if you're going to release Le'Veon Bell and then trade your best wide receiver, Jamison Crowder, who's had 300-yard games in each game that he's played this year, if that's your approach to evaluating your young quarterback and setting him up for success, just admit that you're tanking, admit you're trying to get Trevor Lawrence, and trade this kid and get him an opportunity somewhere else before you completely ruin him.
Next comment. I honestly believe that Douglas has approached this entire year as a tank with the intent to get rid of Gase. The only reason Gase is still here is because he gives us the best opportunity to tank. I completely disagree with this because if that was your plan is to sit here and ruin your quarterback.
Exactly.
Like to have Sam Darnold be your collateral, knowingly be your collateral, is a horrible approach. Like that's just gross incompetence, man.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. That's the one aspect of it that wouldn't make sense. Sticking with Adam Gase for an extra year with an intentional, idea to tank just to sacrifice your young quarterback, that makes no sense. If you believed in Sam and you had any doubts at all about Adam Gase after last year, you make the change after last year. You give Sam 3 years, in his rookie contract to turn it around and start bringing pieces in here.
How many players will refuse to re-sign until Gase gets fired? There's nobody coming back to this environment right now. There is nobody else come back to a team that's like losing one of the worst teams of football, knowing that Gase is going to be your leader and coach next year. You're going to have to overpay. Nobody wants to come back to this. Because you want to get a good paycheck, but you want to be in a winning culture. Like ideally, at the end of the day, you want a chance to win. So, I mean, none of these guys will come back, man. None of them.
Yeah, unless they overpay with the Jets tax, like we talk about, expecting anybody to want to be a part of this organization and this clown show that we've turned this into. I mean, this is not the kind of environment that any player wants to play in right now.
Next comment, Gase needs to be fired. Players hate him, and this is absolutely ridiculous. We don't deserve the team to be this bad. You know what? The one thing you understand is they don't care about the fans. Like, no. Obviously, a lot of this nonsense could have been avoided 3 weeks ago. You fire this guy, all of us are calm, right? Yeah. Think about this. They could have avoided all this nonsense. Bell would still be here. You get Gase out of the building. Everybody's calm. It's like, let Jim Bob Cooter do whatever he wants or Greg Williams. We're not going to argue. We're not going to fight. We're going to look at players laughing, drink some beers, and watch football. But you have this, the elephant is still in the room. And that's the problem. And now we're all getting worried, like, how much more damage can he do here? And the longer he's here, it's like, is he staying here longer because he's coming back next year? Is that even possible? which I think would be insane. But like they're basically saying the next 11 games don't matter. Like they're just quitting on the season in October.
Pretty much, man. And I agree with the comment. Players don't like him. They don't respect him. You see the lack of effort on the field. I don't think it's a complete talent issue, especially, like on the defensive side of the ball. Most of these players were here last year. Guys are just flat out regressing. Your system is not designed to elevate anybody. There aren't any examples. I mean, we tried doing that a few shows ago where we went through the roster, right? How many guys have been getting better? I mean, we came up with like 2 guys? Like nobody's progressing here. So,
hey guys, 30% off merch at Jet Shop. I mean, don't spend money, man. Yep, I'm not. I mean, they should have a buyback program. I keep saying they should have a buyback program for all these jerseys they wasted.
Who the hell would buy a jersey right now?
Who would you buy it of? Becton? That's the only guy.
That's your only option. That's your only option. Him or Quinnen Williams, if you're like a Quinnen Williams fan.
The punter. Worst organization. They are. They're on and off the field. And the thing is, we've gotten so many messages. Dude, it all starts with ownership. The biggest problem with this team remains ownership. They are so far in above their head. They don't even know what they're doing. Whoever their resources are. And the best thing is Andrew Brandt. Do you see that story he had with Pat McAfee today?
No.
Andrew Brandt. They're talking about Adam Gase, like all this stuff going on. Andrew Brandt talked to the New York Jets. They asked him for a recommendation. He talked to the New York Jets for 2 hours and gave a glowing recommendation about Mike McCarthy. The Jets the next day hired Adam Gase, and they said, well, Peyton Manning called us. We kind of went with him. Andrew Brandt's like, well, that's the way you want to go. He said he gave a 2-hour recommendation, explained all the reasons why Mike McCarthy's a better hire than Adam Gase. Peyton Manning called, boom. If that doesn't tell you something about the ownership, what does, man?
Like we all thought. They were duped by a phone call from Peyton Manning, a guy that never even wanted to be a part of the Jets. Like we talked about with Trevor Lawrence, right? Potentially, staying with Clemson another year and not wanting to come to the Jets. Peyton Manning did the same thing. He didn't want to be a Jet.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, can it get worse? Jake, actually, it can.
Never say never.
Because
I've learned that the hard way this year.
I've been promising since Monday I wouldn't be pissed off and rant anymore, and I've made 4 videos since then. So the can it get worse would come the trade deadline if they do something with Sam. Like they're handling a Sam the rest of this year is going to be fascinating. So I think it can get worse. They could do something stupider, right?
At this point, they might honestly just trade Sam if they're in legitimate tank mode, which it appears that they are. Right? Get rid of Sam. Play Morgan the rest of the year. If you're legitimately trying to lose games and you want that number 1 overall pick, get rid of Sam. Give him a chance somewhere else. Get him out of this environment. Try and salvage his career. Get what you can for him now. Because once you take Lawrence, his value probably goes down even more. So,
yeah, I mean, this is just, and the trade deadline is going to be just wild. Next comment, you will see it in the players' body language this Sunday again, how they feel about what happened. Trust that.
You see it on social media now.
Yep. Oh, yeah. I mean, but you'll see, like, dude, there's nothing to fight for, nothing to believe in. Who's giving your pep talk? Joe Flacco? They're like, dude, we're not listening to you. Le'Veon Bell's not there anymore. Like, there is who is your leader on this team now? Frank Gore?
Pretty much. Yeah, Frank Gore and Joe Flacco.
And you have a Ryan Fitzpatrick who's playing lights out right now with a very hungry, motivated team. And then you look at this, too, which we haven't even talked about. Look at the AFC East right now. Brian Flores is a very good coach down in Miami. Yeah. McDermott in Buffalo is definitely doing his thing, and yet Belichick. Look at what you're coming into as a new head coach. Like you better have your A game every week because these guys are doing all good things. And I hate the Dolphins, I hate the Bills, but you got to give credit where credit's due. Brian Flores is doing some good things down in Miami.
He's doing some good things, and he's cleaning up the mess that Gase left him.
And they have a shitload of draft picks.
Yep.
Let's see the next comment. Douglas didn't sign the top free agents that Gase wanted because he doesn't expect Gase to be around. He didn't want to be stuck with Gase players on bad deals when Gase won't be around. I don't buy that at all because you know what? They were supposed to be in sync and on the same page. So this can't be, well, I didn't give you this because you didn't give me that. No, the goal is to work as a team, get the best team possible to win games. So I don't think there's this whole Douglas had this agenda like, you know what? I'm going to take this job, and then for a year, I'm going to sign all bad players to ensure that Gase is out of here. You don't have, like, you can't just waste 2 years by not doing anything.
I think that's a very convenient excuse now for Joe Douglas to potentially use because of how this year is blown up in his face.
Yeah, I mean, this is great. This team is a fucking joke. Yep. No arguments here, man. You can see how much we care. No one should support this organization. I mean, nobody is. I mean, like I said, don't buy anything. Like, you can watch the game. Don't support their social media stuff. Don't buy anything. Don't do anything for them. Don't give them anything. They don't deserve it. And right now, it's like, could you imagine them trying to sell tickets or season ticket plans or anything for next year? dude, their ticket sales rep, they can't get paid. I mean, can you make a phone call right now?
Good luck.
Do you want to have a down payment for next year? Good luck with that. Who am I sending the cash to for the Fire Gase banner? You know what? It's funny. I'll just say it. I had an idea, man. But so whoever wants to take this idea, because I had my inner Jay Copo. I was getting all inspired one day. I'm like, you know what? I'm like, if fans were smart, because now the Jets are very self-conscious about everything. They're tracking everybody. I'm sure they're tracking us. They're tracking everybody. Make sure what everybody's doing. Make sure there's no protest, nothing done to embarrass them. If fans were clever, what you do is you don't get billboards in New Jersey. You don't get them in the facility. You get them outside of opposing stadiums all across the NFL. So when fans go to Kansas City and they go to Seattle, dude, you organize where on Sunday there's 10 games, right? Yeah. You organize a billboard outside every home game throughout the NFL, like all 10 stadiums. So they're like, and then you have like one like Andy Reid better than Gase, this guy better than Gase, and you do that all across the NFL on a Sunday, dude. Can you imagine? That would be a statement. That's what I was thinking about doing. I won't do it though, but just if anybody has an idea and wants to raise money,
I truly hope somebody runs with that, because that maybe that would get through to ownership.
Can you imagine that, dude? On a Sunday, everybody outside every stadium in the NFL would be a Fire Gase sign or something like this. Like, in Miami, do you want Gase back? In Chicago, thanks for Gase. Like, I just had like a related sign, something about him. Your coach is better than ours. Your coach is better than ours. Outside every stadium, every home game on a Sunday.
I hope somebody runs with that. I wish I had the time to do it.
That'd be funny as hell, man. That'd be so funny. I was like, you know what? I'm like, it'd be funny as hell, though. Let's see. See this. I am no longer a Jets fan. I've been a fan since 1986, and I'm officially done. Packer fan now. Listen, man. Everybody says that stuff. It's like, if they trade Revis, I'm never gonna watch his team again. If they trade Keyshawn, they trade John Abraham. If this guy goes, we all say it, and then we say this on Wednesday, and come Sunday, right? TV's on, we're watching it. So
too many hours invested, too many years invested at this point to just turn back and then root for somebody else. Like if I became a Packer fan right now and they win a Super Bowl this year, is that going to mean anything to me? No. So the long grind of it all. Hopefully one day it'll make it worth it, but who knows if that'll ever happen. Yeah,
the great offensive mind. And that's what makes the whole thing about play calling responsibilities comical. The reason why Adam Gase was hired was for his offense and his innovative play calling. The fact that the conversation was about relegating that just speaks how bad of a job he's doing. Like the fact that conversation was being had with Joe Douglas and ownership should say, you know what, you have to go. Like we're taking away from you what you're supposed to be doing. Like that's supposed to be your strength.
That was the single biggest reason he was brought here, for his offensive mind to develop the quarterback. Right. This was the first time we went with an offensive minded head coach since who? Yep. Every coach in the past. I mean, Rex, Herm, Mangini, these were all Todd Bowles. They were all defensive-minded coaches. We finally went with the offensive mind because he was supposed to be the guy who could develop our quarterback. Innovative system that kind of matches today's offenses. Yet, we're last in literally every single category.
Yep. I mean, so here's a positive one. Our playmakers are Mims, Zuniga, Ashton Davis, Pirine. That's our future. Outside Mackay, we have not one surefire star player on the roster. We don't even know what any of those guys are. They've all been hurt. Other than Pirine, we don't know what any of those guys are.
Yeah, I mean, even Pirine. I mean, you've barely seen him on the field. Ashton Davis, he's doing kick returns more than he's playing defense. It seems like it's hard to get an evaluation on anybody in this draft class other than Mekhi Becton at this point and Braden Mann, but.
Adam Gase only got his opportunity because of Peyton Manning. We just talked about this. Peyton looked like an idiot for endorsing Adam Gase now. Do you think Peyton Manning cares?
He doesn't care.
He's sitting there doing freaking commercials, insurance commercials and stuff. He don't care. No. He can give a rat's ass.
I just don't understand why they took the word of Peyton Manning.
Yeah, I mean,
everybody wanted either Matt Rule, Mike McCarthy, Munkin was out there. Like there were a number of different candidates that you could win. You had Bieniemy in the building. And yet we literally went with, Kingsbury as well. You literally went with the one guy that you got to watch in your own division just burn down the Dolphins organization through 3 years. And you thought, you know what? He doesn't even need time to learn from that. We're just going to bring him right in.
And people warned him. They warned him. Andrew Brandt warned him.
Yep.
Next comment. So Jets now have $80 million in cap space. Want to bet they don't use it. Douglas says, I'm saving it to extend contracts. I mean, I don't understand how they're using the money now. I don't understand what they're doing.
Who are they spending it on? Who are they spending it on next year? What prominent free agents are coming here? You're going to end up overspending for average free agents like we did this year. We're going to have like 10 different George Fant type signings.
Next comment, give P. Ryan 20 handoffs. Go for it. I mean,
I wish,
why not?
They're still going to feature Frank Gore. I guarantee you. I guarantee
you. Insane. How is Joe Douglas going to talk about culture? Like, bro, if you don't man the fuck up and talk to ownership, don't talk about culture when you're playing your buddy. Yeah, I mean, Joe Douglas has got his hands full now, man, because it's just he looks like a fraud. He looks like a fraud. Yeah. Like everything he preached is not what he's doing, and now you're doubling down with Gase by keeping him in the building.
And that's why I said 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, just get out in front of this, right? Say something, separate yourself from Gase, say something to the media, say something to ownership. If you're really about culture, you can't continue to just say, you know what we're watching right now is acceptable. You can't do that. And yet he's hiding. He's refusing to answer questions. Think about that. You just released a guy that's making what he made $52 million. I mean, he didn't actually make all that money. He made like what $28 million over the last 2 years. And I know that wasn't his signing. Yet you kind of deserve the fans an explanation for why it didn't work out. Adam Gase didn't want to give the explanation. It's irrelevant. So you, as the general manager, having this big boy job, should put your big boy pants on and address the media, address the fans, say what went wrong.
Chicken shit.
Yep.
Next comment. Not mad we moved on from Bell. Didn't like his running style for this team. I'm pissed how we treated him and wasted his talent. He was nothing but a leader from day one. Wish him luck. Listen, man, I mean, I haven't watched the social media the last couple of hours. I hope he goes to a winning team, like a playoff team, and does good things. Like, I don't have any ill will to her. Like, I was a Le'Veon Bell fan before he came here. I'm still a fan of him now. Like, I hope he does well. Like, I'm not bitter towards him at all.
Yeah, honestly, hope he goes to the Patriots or the Bills and gets a chance to run over the Jets a couple times.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Let's see. Yeah, I mean, yeah, even players that don't even play for us are making comments. I mean, we're a laughingstock, man, and everybody takes notice. Especially now, like, there's certain things is, like social media is prominent. So when you want to learn about what players really think, check out their Instagram post, and in the comments, you see all the players leaving comments. No calling this like Boomer Esiason's like, oh, nobody's gonna say anything to Le'Veon Bell. Avery Williamson tweeted things out. Half the players are doing things. They're all commenting on social media. It's a different world, man. Like they don't understand how this works anymore.
No. Pretty much everybody that talked today or that posted something on Twitter, it was all positive words for Le'Veon Bell. Great teammate, great leader. Love playing with him.
Yep.
They can try to spin it however they want, but fans know what's going on.
Next one. Never been so disgusted by this team. You know what, Jack? I agree with you. Like this is probably the hardest time in my lifetime to be a Jets fan. And I've been through some real, I went through the Kotite stuff. We've been through some really bad times with like Rex and Bowles and all this other stuff. Dude, there is not 1 ounce of confidence in this organization right now. Like, do you have any faith in anything? Like, no. I fear what they're going to do with Sam. I fear the hiring of the new coach. I fear that Gase could possibly stay. The rebuild, this whole rebuild is now everybody's like, get as many draft picks as possible. We're going to be all set. Well, it's not just really how it works. You get a lot of draft picks, and of all those draft picks you get, you hope 40% of them pan out. And of those 40%, they got to be at premium positions. And if that doesn't work out, then you got to hope the free agents worked out. Like, you want to rebuild all this stuff in 2 years when you have what? Out of 22 spots, 16 holes, 15 holes?
At least. Yeah, I mean, listen, I can get on board with the rebuild. I can, give Joe Douglas an opportunity to try to do it his way, build through the draft. He comes from some winning organizations, and he's got the winning background and all that. But until I see some results, it's hard to really get on board with Douglas and really think that things are going to turn around at this point.
I think my billboard idea may have inspired some people here.
What, the old Jets fan media account? Where is that coming from?
Yeah, and there's one they said, and put a sign in Seattle, thanks for Adams. Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, you put a billboard in every town that has a home game on a Sunday and coordinate it all at the same time and have something Jets related there. Like Jets fans for Robbie Anderson had that down in Carolina. Miss you, Jamal, in Seattle. Wish Gase didn't ship you out. Like, dude, you can coordinate this. It would be epic. Like that would be, and there's nothing Jets can do about it. Like because it's not New York, New Jersey. So you can just, I'm telling you, it would be epic. That would be the most epic thing fans could ever do. Seriously.
I hope somebody runs with it.
Yeah, and like this, put a billboard in St. Louis and say you're better off without a team than with a team coached by Adam Gase. Dude, I'm saying you could cater the billboard in each one and have it oriented, and every market would be talking about it. You had no choice. It'd be a nationwide story.
You're giving me ideas.
Dude, this is how angry I am, man. I have so much venom in my body. It's not even healthy anymore. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, this is they're not extending him. They're letting him coach out his contract, but that would be. I don't even know
You still worry about next year at this point if he truly has this much authority right now, if he's allowed to dictate certain personnel decisions. I mean, I feel like that's a bad, ominous sign going forward.
Yep.
I don't know.
This one is an interesting one. I thought about this myself. Does anyone think that Sam's parents or advisors got him finally and told him to milk the shoulder injury and not play for the team again? I actually thought about this.
That's interesting.
Because think about it. There are certain injuries where you can get away with for a longer period of time. Shoulder, back, hamstring, calf. Or certain things where it's like they're very finicky, man. Like you're like, oh no, it's like because a lot of times it's not a bone, it's a muscle thing, or it's something you like. Listen, it just doesn't feel right, dude. Anything's in play, man. Anything is in play.
If I was Sam, why would I want to play for this team again? Like, why would I come back after seeing what they did, especially to Becton, allowing me to go back out there and get my ass beat on 3rd and 5 in the Thursday night game? Why would I go back out there? You're taking weapons away from me while every other organization prioritizes their young quarterback. And not only that, you're feeding all these stories to the media, make or break a year for Sam. We already shipped Jamal out and blamed him. We already shipped Le'Veon Bell out, blamed him. It's beyond clear that they're setting up Sam for the exact same thing. So if I was him, yeah, I mean, why throw away my career for Adam Gase?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Next one. Well, at least Mims is finally off IR.
Yeah, he's still probably not going to play, though.
And the problem you're going to have with Mims is twofold. He's got a lot of catching up to do because he didn't play in preseason or no preseason, training camp. He's got so much to learn. Imagine if it's Flacco. He's got to learn Flacco. He's trying to learn Sam. And now the pressure, dude, because now the expectation is we just talked about Justin Jefferson and Claypool and all these guys just tearing things up week in and week out. And then if Mims comes out and has like 2 catches, 10 yards, like, dude, what are we doing here? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's if we're being realistic, this season's a waste. Like, if you get 20 catches out of him, great, But I mean, the expectations are kind of high.
Yeah, I mean, we already had expectations on him before the year just because of the lack of what they did around him, only signing Rashad Perriman and really doing little else at wide receiver. And now not being able to start the year, first 5 games, all these other wideouts out there that are just, taking off historic wide receiver draft class, and yet you haven't played yet. So the expectations when he comes back, they are going to be through the roof.
Yep. No, they are. At this point, should Joe Douglas tell Christopher Johnson he wants to pick a new coach?
Yes.
Does Joe Douglas even want to get rid of Gase? I have a feeling he trusts Gase in his coaching right now.
I have a feeling. Yeah.
That's the biggest concern, man.
Nothing that Joe Douglas has said, if we're going to take him at his word, which, again, he's got a lot of quotes that kind of conflict this, but if we're taking him at his word, it's hard to believe that he doesn't trust Adam Gase at this point.
Yep. Yeah, I mean,
it seems like they're best friends. He's, kind of, I guess, in bed with him because Gase brought him in here. It seems like he's just afraid to sever the cord and truly get out in front of this idea of culture. Because everybody right now is noticing, you know what? You're a fraud. You're a fraud. You're not talking to anybody. You're not addressing this. You're allowing Adam Gase to sink your organization. You're doing nothing about it.
Yeah, and to let him still be in the building, have this thing with Bell, it's just to allow all this is just very strange. It's just a strange way of doing business from an organizational standpoint when the coach is the problem. Like I don't. Yep. It makes you wonder, man, because it's just so weird. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, brilliant offensive mind with 21st, 22nd, 25th. Yeah, I mean, the offensive rankings for Gase are just embarrassing.
Yeah, every single year they've gone backwards. And, the injury excuse can only go so long when the injuries follow you everywhere you go as well. All your teams are always hurt. So that also says something. And we kind of touched on that at the beginning of the year, what you mentioned before, about guys starting to milk injuries. You wonder about that. Mm-hmm. If players truly don't believe in the coaching staff that's there and they see through all their bullshit, maybe they do milk a lot of these injuries for him. And that's why he has so many injuries.
Well, dude, you once you get into the colder months, players come up with these injuries, a hamstring, the back. Then you know what? You're like, my contract's going to be up in 2 months. Yep. I want to be healthy in the offseason, so I get a new contract for next year. The last thing they want is an injury where they can't play next year. So they say, you know what? We start mailing these things in a little bit. And that happens. Dude. It happens on every team, every bad team at the end of every year. What's most upsetting about this situation is the fact that Gase ownership have ruined the core future of this team, Jamal and Sam. We now need a new coach, quarterback, talent around that quarterback. That takes years. I mean, we've talked about this earlier. Even regardless of what you think about Sam, everything else around him is a problem. Like there is nothing. What is the strength of the team right now? There's not. We can't even pinpoint one strength on this team. There's not one strong point. Not one position you'd be like, you know what? I feel comfortable with this position. What is it? Left tackle?
It was supposed to be the tight ends, and they've all gone backwards. So,
or the defensive line. They're playing like shit.
Yep. Yeah, like you said, left tackle. I mean, that's the one position that you have. 1 of 5 on your offensive line.
Where is the accountability? Gase, Douglas, Johnson, all frauds. Their first scapegoat was Bell. And there was another comment. I forgot. I missed it by accident.
Jamal was a scapegoat too.
Jamal's a scapegoat. Bell's a scapegoat. And what they said was, the comment was, I missed it, was the next scapegoat will be a coordinator. Probably, I mean, I don't think, maybe it could be Greg Williams. He'll make some kind of statement. And 2, if they keep him in the building, he'll fire a coach to kind of save his aspect. Listen, I'm trying to make things better. Maybe defensive line coach. I don't know.
I was going to say, it would have to be somebody, I think, on the offensive side of the ball, because to fire Greg Williams, and I'm not going to defend the defense. The defense has been trash this year in every sense of the word. But to fire him after the job he did last year, meanwhile, your offensive staff did absolutely nothing for a full season, and you brought every one of those guys back.
Yep.
So
Gase sent this organization back 5 years. Yep, that's true.
Pretty much.
I mean, you look at
just like he did with Miami.
Yep. You look at they had to get all those draft picks and find all that, all those resources to start rebuilding now to overcome all the things he did to them.
Yep.
Let's see. Here's an interesting one. Gase behind the scenes has total control of the franchise. He isn't going anywhere till season's end until he fires himself. The GM is his puppet and the acting owner is disinterested. You know what? Can't dispute it, man. You really can't dispute it, because the way they're handling themselves right now makes you wonder, right? Like, you're having a coach in the building, which we said, you're letting him still make roster moves. Like, these are players that could come back next year. They show you something.
But I was going to read something on that comment. But if he has total control of this team, yeah. Okay, so behind the scenes, he has total control.
Right? You're impressed by my skills right there?
No, that was good. I was very surprised by that. All right, so the GM is his puppet and the acting owner disinterested. So yeah, I mean, behind this, if he truly has total control, I mean, what is Joe Douglas here for?
I mean, think about, dude, they were going to trade for Balaj, and he failed his physical, and then they got him anyway. Like,
but that also makes me wonder, like, he may not be going anywhere. We like to assume, all right, it's a given. We all see he's the worst coach in football. But, like, if he truly has all the authority, if he has more authority than Joe Douglas to go to ownership and make these moves happen, why should we automatically assume he's going to be out the door?
Dude, listen, I'm trying to brainwash myself.
That's what's starting to worry me now.
I'm trying to brainwash myself. I'm not going to buy into this. I'm going to convince myself that he's getting fired at the end of the year, if not sooner. But they let Adam Gase hire Darryl Loggins, but wouldn't allow Matt Rule to hire his own assistant. I don't know how the Johnsons made so much money in their life. I'll never understand it, dude. That's a phenomenal comment. I mean, that's just so true. You look at the coaches that were in the building, and they said Mike McCarthy had to bring in this guy, Matt Rule had to bring in this guy, and Adam Gase was the guy. But you know what? I'm good with all this.
Adam Gase accepting Greg Williams was probably the only way he was getting another head coaching job. So he didn't really have a choice in that aspect. And I guess he was able to, bring in his own offensive staff with Loggins and all these other guys that would be trash.
Ashton Davis was the 6th riskiest player in the draft. I mean, I don't know.
I still hate the pick just because we went defense.
Yeah.
In a draft class that was loaded with wide receivers, the idea of taking him and Zuniga in the 3rd round, and then, going with James Morgan in the 4th, taking a backup quarterback made no sense at all. You could have even, if you really wanted those guys bad enough, fine, trade future picks, but don't neglect the wide receiver position, especially in that draft class. And yet, here we are.
We went from melting down in the 4th quarter to not showing up at all. No, I mean, these games aren't competitive, man. Like, we're not, and what the problem is, as diehard fans, it's going to get a lot worse. Like, the worst is still to come. Like, you had the Seahawks, the Chiefs. I mean, what the hell is the point spread going to be in the Chiefs game, dude? 40?
I can only imagine. I've been seeing so many comments too, like from people. I wish that we were back in the Todd Bowles era where we were melting down in the 4th quarter and we had some competitive football to watch. Like that's how low the bar is set now. We missed the Todd Bowles era.
And you don't say Bowles is bad. I wanted to get this other comment. It moved on me. Our comments are coming in so fast that I can't get them on the things fast enough. Hold on. Here it is. Our defense is relatively healthy, yet they're playing like they're depleted. Yep. Mark, what the hell happened to Marcus May, man? I don't even know what happened to Marcus May. Avery Williamson he's a decent player, but not where he was coming off injury. He's probably gonna be better next year because usually the first year after injury, you're kind of getting back, and then next year you're a lot better, which he won't be here.
every single one of these guys are in a contract year. So in theory, you would think, all right, they'd be playing hard, trying to find a contract, but maybe it's the other way where they're just like, you know what, we're not going to get hurt. We're going to be free agents at the end of the year. We just want to make sure that we're healthy and ready to go instead of, risking injury in a year that's going nowhere.
Yep. Christopher Johnson doesn't want to fire Adam Gase. He still has 2 more years in his contract. Listen, man.
Making how much money?
I've heard this over and over and over. If you're a professional organization in the NFL, you can't worry about $6 million making or breaking you. If that's the case, sell the team. Yep. Like seriously, at some point you got to cut your losses because the $6 million you're going to lose, you'll make $100 million by having a prominent head coach in here by ticket sales and jerseys, everybody buying your bullshit and watching your social media. You could sell advertising. I mean, I don't want to hear about that. Don't cry poverty to me. Don't say, oh, we're tightening up our budget. Nobody's buying that. You made a gazillion dollars with these goddamn uniforms.
Seriously. And they've gone cheap on every single head coach hire in the last 2 decades. So at some point, whether it's not working out or whether you finally invest in a big name like they should, you got to get it right. And wasting all this time on Adam Gase is pointless. Imagine
Joe Douglas clears house and trades Sam, and Trevor Lawrence decides to stay in college. I wouldn't go to a single game next year. That'd be the Jets' luck, man. That's when Peyton Manning stayed in school.
That is the exact scenario that it would not shock me if it happened. That we try to make all these moves to assure the tank, and then somehow we still end up winning a game or two down the stretch. Giants go 0-16, and Trevor Lawrence is playing in New York, just not in green.
I really hope this offseason we draft a speedy, shifty running back. I'm not sold on Pirine. These NFL days, you need a good running back with speed. I mean, they need speed on both sides of the football. I mean, the NFL game is all about speed. You watch other games. We talk about this all the time. You watch other games. The Jets are like in like the JV. Like they're like junior varsity. Everybody else is playing in the pros.
And that's why the Pirine pick to me didn't really make a ton of sense. I mean, I know he's got a little bit of that extra burst, but he's not a home run threat. He's not that change of pace back, that dynamic, speed back that we really need, that we thought, maybe could complement Le'Veon Bell, where you could have those 2 back sets and everything. No, I mean, I feel like he's just like another a Sean Green type who's going to have a very, short NFL life. He might peak for a year or two, maybe be a guy that can split carries with somebody else, but, being a feature back, I don't know if he has that ceiling.
Divided locker room, divided coaching staff. This organization has hit rock bottom, fellas. I mean, you can't argue with that. There's no positives here. Like there's not one there's not like one glimmer of hope you can hang your hat on. Like, all right, well, we have this. This is Becton, maybe, and the punter. There's really nothing else here, man. Like we're praying that Mims comes out and Zuniga and Ashton Davis, but
it was supposed to be Sam, and we're now talking about another quarterback, and it was supposed to be Joe Douglas, and that was the key, right? That if you had the GM, the right guy that's kind of overseeing everything, that things would get turned around a little bit quicker. And unfortunately, like the comment says, the divided locker room, divided coaching staff, he's overseeing all this, and he's not doing a damn thing about it.
Look at when the season ended last year, and the guys that we were counting on before free agency, before the draft, you're like, all right, we got Jamal Adams, we got Robbie Anderson, we got Sam, we have this, we drafted like all our building, all the name guys we were all happy and excited about, like we could do this, maybe do this, they're all gone. Le'Veon Bell, year 2 is gonna be healthy, all this stuff, like nothing.
All gone.
Everything is gone. Would there be a shift in tone when Woody comes back? I don't know, man, because remember, we were happy when Woody left, right?
Yeah.
Woody never paid coaches. He never paid coaches, and he made some really stupid decisions.
And that just speaks to how far backwards we've really gone under Chris Johnson these last 4 years, right? The fact that we're actually hoping Woody Johnson maybe comes back and cleans house.
Yeah, I mean, thoughts on Greg Williams? He's done a terrible job. He had his one hit last year. That was his glory year at the Jets, and now he's been terrible. The defense has been horrific, right? I mean,
he's been awful, but I still think that at least some guys in that locker room respect him at least more than they respect Adam Gase. So the logical thing would still be, I think, to make him the interim coach. But yeah, I mean, this entire coaching staff could go. He's been awful this year. The defense has been terrible. They've been undisciplined, and yeah, I mean, the unfortunate thing is that it's a lot of the same players that are here. The only real difference on the defensive side is Jamal Adams.
Yep. What are the odds that Jamal and Le'Veon both went from leaders of the team and vocal guys in the locker room to despising the organization and begging for out? Says a lot about Gase. It's exactly what it says a lot about. I mean,
and that's why, like, I was never fooled when all the stuff was going on with Jamal Adams, because it was so clear how the organization was just wronging him, right? Putting out all this shit about, all right, we want to make you a Jet for life, but not even answering the phone to have contract negotiations. Like, it was an insult. He was insulted, right? He felt like he carried this organization in some ways, which it looks like it's true now, looking at the defense. He felt like he deserved that contract. And if he was going to stay here, the only way he was going to stay here is with that contract, because other guys in his draft class were getting paid. And he felt like he was on that level. The Seahawks clearly viewed him on that level. They were willing to trade 2 first-round picks for him. Yet the Jets organization decided, in spite of the fact that they need talent desperately, they decided, you know what, Jamal, we're good. We're gonna rebuild again. Can't make it up, man.
This team appears to be worse than those 0-16 teams from the past, to be honest. 0-16. Yeah, I mean, listen,
It's up there.
It's even worse. It gets a lot worse when these losses are piling up with Joe Flacco playing. Because then it's like you have an old-ass quarterback with Frank. Like the Flacco-Gore combination, especially now when you got rid of Le'Veon Bell, looks so ridiculous. To lose games with these clowns, it's like this is rock bottom. Like this, you could not ask for a worse situation. All your prize rookies are hurt. You're playing journeyman guys that are useless, that aren't going to be here next year, and they're not even that good. Like, you know what I mean? It's like you're not even bringing in.
Nothing aggravates me more than losing badly with veterans, right? You can tolerate it when there's young guys out there and like there's a glimmer of hope, guys are developing, making progress week to week. Like you can even tolerate watching young guys. Like what we were talking about when Lamar Jackson got roasted by DeAndre Hopkins. I wasn't mad about that. For me, like that's a learning experience for a young player, right? The fact that he's even on DeAndre Hopkins, like that speaks volumes, I think, about what this kid's potential might be. He had decent covers there. He got beat. You hope he learns from it. You can tolerate watching young players fail. I can't tolerate watching embarrassing losing football when it's 37-year-old veterans who are not a part of your future.
Like the comment that I always like was that if you're going to lose young.
Yeah.
Like lose young guys on the field. Like you empty the bench and let all these guys play.
Yep.
So, I mean, this is a good one. Do you think JD's reputation will take a hit for a future head coach after everything that's happened between last season and this season? I don't know, man, because there is a lot of ugly shit that happened here that between the Jamal Adams thing. And if you look behind the scenes, like the problem with the Jamal Adams deal was he acted like such an idiot and he caused so much chaos with his shenanigans that a lot of things he really wanted to get through, people didn't hear. Like Manish
people are
Mehta,
hearing it now, though. People are hearing it now.
But it's still kind of tainted because it came from Manish Mehta and things like that. But a lot of stuff he said about how the contract negotiations, all this stuff, and you've heard in other situations too where they kind of mishandle contract stuff. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And now that you start to wonder does Joe Douglas have a reputation? Do the Jets have a reputation? And, you know,
mishandling contracts, mishandling injuries, all of it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The injury. This fucking team, dude. It just doesn't end, man. It just doesn't end.
What do they handle the right way? Injuries, press conferences, dude, all of it.
I mean, this is just exhausting. Like, there's not, you can't even find out, like, you can't find like any like speck of just nothing to believe in here. And then you wonder, like, what is the impression of Joe Douglas? Like, what do people really think about him? Like, we all love him because he came from Baltimore and the Eagles and he has all this stuff. What do people really think?
I think the tide is very slowly starting to shift. The longer he waits this out, the longer he refuses to distance himself from what Adam Gase is doing, whether Adam Gase has all the power, whether Joe Douglas is afraid to just step up and take the power from him. I mean, whether he's just a puppet, who the hell knows? But the longer this drags out, the more the spotlight is going to shift to him for not doing anything.
What head coaches are out there that you guys think could lead this team? Well, that's a good question because there's a lot of hot coordinators with the Arthur Smith, you know, Brian Dable, Eric Bieniemy. Yeah. Then it's like I'm more fascinated by what, you know, head coaches that have already been a head coach, whether in high school, probably high school for this fucking team. Any college coach, any prominent college coach, or any like veteran coach that has like a winning pedigree, like a Doug Peterson, Sean Payton, like some of these highly touted teams that have coaches that, you know, dude, they're pissed at Kyle Shanahan out in San Francisco, which is mind blowing to me, especially with all the injuries they're dealing with. Like if a guy like that, falls through the cracks, I'm interested. You know,
yeah,
first time coaches are tough, man. First time coaches are tough.
Yeah, I mean, it's beyond clear what we actually need, right? That football Caesar, right? That can kind of just, oversee everything and, really get this thing turned around. I can understand taking a chance on a first-year coach like a Bieniemy or somebody like that, who's an offensive mind, who comes from a winning environment with KC. I think he'd be probably my first choice of guys that haven't been a head coach yet. But, yeah, if the prominent guy with the established resume is there, I think that has to be the choice. I just don't know if Joe Douglas would want that guy or if that guy would want to come here.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times those guys want a prominent, like they want a lot of personnel say, like the whole Parcells thing. I want to shop for the groceries.
Yep.
Joe Douglas sucks. Look at the Eagles' talent now; it's terrible. Listen, man, I mean, the funny thing about Joe Douglas is he only gets credit for the Super Bowl winning team, but he doesn't get credit for anything else that happened. Right? Like all the good things they mention his name, anything bad things, like no, he wasn't in charge of that. Oh wait, so he was in charge when they won, but when they didn't win, he's not in charge of it.
I was saying, and didn't he get there like the year they won it, or like the year after?
Yeah, I don't.
Like he was there like for 1 year, and then they won it or something like that. So I mean, how much influence did he really have on that roster that won the Super Bowl? And all the draft classes that happened when he was there, a lot of those guys are out of the league, hurt, not on the team. So, and not for nothing, also his offseason looks very similar right now to the Mike McCagnon approach, right? Hitting on a first-round draft pick, nothing else for the mid to late rounds, low risk, high reward free agent signings that are off the team after a year. Looks very similar because we've seen this before.
The Johnsons should be arrested for stealing money from the fans. I mean, they've been screwing us for years, man. They've been selling us bullshit, jerseys. They've been selling us everything but winning. Yep. We always buy in because we're just so passionate. We want to believe in something. Yeah. Let's see. Want to trade for Jimmy G? I'll pass on that.
Good. Although Sam would be phenomenal with the 49ers.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of places he can go. He can go to the Vikings. There's a lot of teams. Yeah, there's a lot of teams he'd be perfect. Douglas and Gase are making these decisions together. Mac is their excuse for Gase to return in 2021. I mean, that was the one thing that Boomer said today. It really sort of pissed me off too. I like Boomer Esiason too. It's just unfortunate this is going down like this, but they started saying, well, these guys inherited a mess. They got to clean. Not Joe Douglas. They have to clean out a lot of attitudes, a lot of problems like Le'Veon Bell to get this team in the right direction. They, as a team, need to do this, kind of saying like this is like a 3 or 4 year plan here. This is only year 2.
Hold up. If the talented players are the problem, what's the fucking question?
Listen, I'm just a messenger, man. I'm just reading the comments here.
I mean, like, just speaking of Boomer, like, if all these guys that have talent that go elsewhere and they're still talented, part of winning teams, even the offensive linemen that we didn't get to tonight. I mean, I know we got to them in the past few shows, but like Kelvin Beachum, Brandon Shell, Osemele before he got hurt, like these guys were all starting offensive linemen on winning teams. So why couldn't Adam Gase get that to work here? Why can't he get the young quarterback to develop? All these things.
Even though the Johnsons own the team, do they have to be in charge of the day-to-day football decisions? No, they don't. No, you hire a head of football operations. You hire an entire staff of people, of football guys running your football team. That's what you do. That's how you handle your organization. Like you say, you know what? Here is this is your team. You guys, whoever it is, head of, like what Bill Parcells was that, head of football operations. And you report back to me with what's going on. Okay, thanks. That's it.
Yeah, I was hopeful that Joe Douglas would kind of, hire that guy, but I think he's going to want a guy that he can control if it's, if he's even going to move on from Adam Gase, which, I'm starting to have questions about. So yeah, if somehow you can get that true football guy in here, that's exactly what the organization needs. I'm just very skeptical about whether or not that guy's going to be available or if this location is going to be someplace that person will want to go to. Yeah.
I mean, it's, why didn't we try to up Bell's trade value in games instead of just letting him go? I don't understand.
Well, they were worried about him getting hurt. He gets hurt, and then he's on the hook for the $8 million next year. That's the one part of it I guess you can kind of understand. But for me, it still goes back to the bigger picture of you need weapons. You want to get a true evaluation on Sam. So why are you taking away arguably his most talented weapon?
Knicks are better than the Jets. I agree. I hate the Knicks. Like the Knicks are so fucking bad that I stopped watching them. Like I couldn't take it more. Like they were unwatchable to the point where I legitimately hate them now. And I was a diehard fan. I watched every game, every game. I despise them.
90s Knicks, I was the same way. I was equally as passionate about the Knicks as I was the Jets, Mets, and now, I barely watch a game. If I do, it's usually on in the background while I'm doing something else. So, yeah, I mean, the Jets are starting to reach that territory with a lot of fans. I mean, we're probably still going to watch because we got to get drunk and do these videos. But for a lot of fans, they're starting to get to –
I don't drink, man.
A lot of fans are starting to get to that point where, you know what, like they're just disinterested. They don't care. And that's the worst place to be in as a fan. You thought it was bad when people were doing the billboards and the planes and everything else. No, that means they're still passionate. They still care. When they're disinterested and they just don't give a shit and they stop buying everything, they stop tuning in, that's when you got a real problem. And it's starting to get there. If it's not
I think the Jets are counting on that. 2 more weeks of bad losses, nobody's going to care if Adam Gase is the coach or not. Like, you know what? They're like, we're all not going to care, dude. We're like, you know what? We're 0-7. We got blown out again. What else is on TV? Like, they want us to be complacent. We're just like, who cares? You know what I mean? They want that.
But that just speaks to even more issues. The fact that that's okay.
This is the team that runs. This is the clowns we deal with. Should we trade Quinn Williams while he still has value?
I mean, he's really the only guy on your defense that I feel like has any value right now.
And is he worth what he's making? Was he making like $9 million? I don't know. What is his contract number? I had it somewhere. I wrote it down.
It's probably somewhere between $8-9 million. Yeah. Overall
is he worth it? Is he a game breaking? Is he a game breaking?
To say that he can't be that yet, I mean, he's got 3 sacks through 5 games. That's on pace for like 9 to 10 for the year. Which, you know, if he does that in his second year, I feel like that would be a legitimate step going forward. And yeah, I mean, you need anchors on the D line. You're obviously getting rid of Henry Anderson at the end of the year. You haven't seen enough, I think, from Shepard and Fatukasi and Phillips. You know, at least from what they did last year to feel confident in them going forward as anchors. So yeah, at some point you need some pieces. So I'm hopeful that he could still be one. But if he has value, if you can get something legitimate back, maybe you make the move. I don't know.
I would.
It's an interior defensive lineman, so I mean, it's not the premium position. And if you don't think he's a true game changer like an Aaron Donald, fine. But if you still think he has that All-Pro potential,
what's the least you would take?
2nd round pick.
What if I give you a 3rd?
No,
I'm doing it. I'm doing
for a 3rd. No,
yeah, out the door. I don't care, dude. Like I'm starting fresh. Like why would any competent coach decide to come to the Jets? This answer is very, very easy. Money, 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 and power. Other than that, they ain't coming. Right? You can say yes. You're gonna have a top 3 pick. You're gonna have $70 million in cap space. You have a lot of draft picks, which is great. But you're coming into a roster that's barren, so you have a chance to mold a team. But you need to have like a 6-year contract, and you want money because there's no patience here. I mean, it's gonna
be like with Joe Douglas. He didn't want to come here initially. They offered him the 6 years. They offered him, I think like $2.5 million a year, and then finally,
didn't want to come here.
Finally, after a few weeks,
he begged him.
He came around. Yeah. So I feel like that's probably what it's going to take. It's going to take a ridiculous contract to try and lure somebody here. And even then, I'm still really not expecting it because I just don't know what names are really out there that would want this job.
Trust the process. I'm surprised the Jets don't sell these shirts now. They sell us all other bullshit. Sell those shirts too. Embrace the rebuild. I mean, it's just we'll do a couple more here because what's today? Wednesday?
Yep. You're right. I'm really surprised they haven't trademarked that yet into a shirt or something.
Yeah, they should.
They come up with everything else. So
Bieniemy, Dable, Roman, Bill O'Brien. This fucking.
It's gonna be Bill O'Brien, dude. You know it.
It's gonna be. Is there anything we can look forward to on game day anymore? Not until Sam comes back.
Nope.
There's nothing to look forward to. Like, what is there to look forward to on Sunday? Joe Flacco's playing. They've already announced that. Like, our preview show on Friday, I'm warning you guys now, I'm getting hammered. Because there's nothing to talk about. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about how good Ryan Fitzpatrick is playing, all these other things. What are we going to talk about? I'm not even going to do research. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm coming with no stats. I'm coming with no breakdowns. We're just going to talk.
How are we 9.5-point underdogs in this game?
I'm warning you now. I'm bringing nothing to the table Friday night, 8 o'clock. I'm nothing. I'm bringing nothing, or 9 o'clock, whatever the hell we do it. Nothing.
You're not studying the X's and O's, breaking this one down?
Go to somebody else and do that shit. I ain't doing it anymore. I was
looking forward to the T. Roush all 22.
I broke that. Don't get me started, man. I'm already in trouble with people. Jesus Christ. All right, we'll do one more. Let's see. If they fire Gase tomorrow, what next? Elevate Greg Williams? They have 3 or 4 options they can do. I mean, that's not a problem. Replacing him is not a problem. It'd be easy.
Yeah, and who's the name slipping my mind right now? The defensive back coach. Because
Wilson?
Yeah, he's been talked about as, potential head coach down the line. I mean, I wouldn't mind him. He was somebody that was always well respected when he was here. So, I mean, I feel like he's got a good grasp of the locker room. So he might be somebody, if you even elevate Greg Williams, he could take over defensive coordinator, or if you thought, he could be the interim head coach. If you don't have belief in Greg Williams, I think there's plenty of options. And then, like you said, Jim Bob Cooter on the offensive side.
Do you think Sam Darnold will play any more games on the Jets, or will they trade him before the deadline?
If I was Sam, I don't know why I would come back. I mean, I don't know why. It's clear that the intention is to tank. It's clear that the Jets want Trevor Lawrence. It's clear that they've done some digging on potential trades with Darnold. So yeah, if I was him at this point, why am I risking my future for Adam Gase and the Jets?
Can you imagine they trade him at the trade deadline?
It wouldn't shock me. It's clear they're all in at the tank right now. I mean, it's clear they're going all in. They're not trying to hide it anymore. Douglas can say all he wants. He's not going to say anything, about punting the year, right? It's clear what they're trying to do. So to think that they wouldn't try to trade him if they can get something back. The only problem is, of course, if you don't get that first overall pick, then you're completely screwed.
That'd be the Jets' luck. They blow everything up to get the third pick.
The Jets' luck would be going 0-16, and the Giants also go 0-16, but strength of schedule, we get pick number 2.
How do you think Mims will turn out? I have absolutely no idea. I really have no idea. We hope. He's got speed, he's got height, he's got great athletic ability, he's got a lot of talent, but
I feel like the law of averages aren't on the Jets side at this point because every single draft pick is hit at wide receiver so far, and usually that never happens. Yep. So I feel like somebody has to be a bust, so it's probably going to be Mims. But no, I mean, I like him as a player. I like his speed-size combination. I thought he was going to need a year to develop, so maybe, the hamstring injuries could be a blessing in disguise, just from a playbook standpoint, kind of getting to sit back and just watch film, ease into the NFL. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a transition. But no, this year I expect
25
nothing.
Catches.
Long term, I think he has the ceiling of a number 2, but it's a long way to go.
One guy said you guys just described Devin Smith.
Well, Devin Smith. We actually described Stephen Hill. Devin Smith, he had the speed. He didn't really have the size, though.
Yeah, there it is already starting. I mean, yeah. So I guess what we'll do is we'll wrap things up a little bit because it's friggin' Wednesday night. We're both exhausted. Thank everybody for joining us. What time Friday night? Prime time, 8 or 9?
Whatever's better for you. I'm home.
Give a shit, dude. I'm gonna be drinking, so we'll do whatever. 8:30.
That's fine.
8:30 Friday night. We'll do it. And then the question is, we've been asked this question many times now. Are we doing the live stream at 4 o'clock on Sunday, 4 to 7, primetime viewing?
It's up to you. I'm in it. I'm in if you are.
We'll decide by Friday.
Yeah, I'm curious to know how that would work, but it might not be good.
Thank everybody for tuning in, and here it goes, man. It's starting again.
Oh shit.
We'll decide Friday night. So Friday night, 8:30, we'll be back on here unless something happens crazy tomorrow, which is team you never know. Thank you for joining us. Prime time. It's been fun, man.
Yep. Talk to you later.